What's going on, guys? I hope you've all been enjoying Title Update 3. It's Damo here, and I'm here with my good mate Alpha. Today we're going to be running you guys through some strategies for Omega, and especially Savage Omega, because we know that he's causing quite a few troubles. However, before we get into that, we do have a new person here on the channel. Alpha, would you like to introduce yourself, mate?
Hi, I'm Alpha. I play all weapons. I've roughly 1,000 hunts with every weapon in the game. I I'm not just saying, oh, I play all weapons just because, oh, I know the basics of all weapons. I have good understanding of every weapon. I have at least 5,000 hours in total for the entire Mod Hunter series. Alright, Damo.
Yeah, perfect, man. Look, I'm really happy to have you here on the channel. You're the one who, was in my ear about a bunch of different strategies to try out for Savage Omega. So, look, let's get into the general strategy, and we're going to try and do this phase by phase. Now, before we even go into the hunt, people need to know what their roles are, and there are some very, very, very important roles. Savage Omega is, as we want to say, it is a savage monster. If you do not have a plan and you just go in aimlessly, he is going to blow you to bits. He is so strong. All of his attacks hit super hard, and they will all two-shot you, right? And with the majority of attacks being so strong that it one-shots players, so you really need to go in there with a plan. Now, the best way to kill any sort of monster in Monster Hunter is to do damage to it, and we all know, we all understand that. But Savage Omega is quite a different beast for a number of reasons, and for that, if you want to get people doing damage, there's a bunch of other hoops you have to jump through first. One of them is actually drawing aggro from Savage Omega. If Omega does not have his aggro focused on a particular person, then he's going to go for a lot of missile attacks and a lot of what's the mustard attack called, Alpha?
It's called Master Bomb. That attack in particular is something you should watch out always for.
Yep.
If somebody has it and they're close to the monster, it really screws with you.
Yep.
You are stuck, kind of not being able to move anywhere. If he, let's say, does his lasers, he does rockets, you have to run. A lot of times, if this is a new monster, it has new attacks, something you're not familiar with, you're gonna end up rolling into that mustard gas, and it's gonna do a lot of damage to you, and then you're gonna end up having to sheath and heal.
Now,
And
if no one has aggro, then he's going to do that mustard bomb multiple times, and he's going to put puddles of fire that are all just complete no-go zones. Like, if you go in them, you're going to last less than 10 seconds, and you're going to be dead. You really don't want him going for mustard bomb, which is why the first role, and one of the most important roles, is you need someone in there who is going to tank all of the aggro. Now, that doesn't mean that you necessarily run a tank build. There's like a viral video going around on like threads where there was someone who had a lance. Lance, the tankiest weapon in Monster Hunter, but it just got chipped into death multiple times in this like one short video. Lance just got chipped and the person was KO'd. Or not KO'd, like they were sent back to camp, because Omega does so much damage that even those guarding-based weapons, they need to look out. So I've been doing this role myself. Me and another fellow who's been on the channel before, Scrub, we've been using light bowgun to get aggro off Omega, which you do by attacking the head. By doing a lot of damage to the head, you're going to get aggro, and by you getting aggro, your teammates aren't going to have aggro, so they can do a bit more damage, but also Omega's AI is going to be a lot more predictable. This is like the number one tip. Like, I see a lot of people being scared to have aggro and things like that, or complaining if they get aggro, and it's like, actually having aggro means you know he's going to attack you. He becomes a lot more predictable, and you're not going to have a million mustard bombs all over the map. So that's role number one, is you want someone to get aggro. Now, I recommend any of the ranged weapons are going to be pretty good for aggro. With heavy bowgun, you have to be careful, because there's some attacks that, like, trying to guard them is just going to get you killed. And then there's other attacks where they're really difficult to evade, but they're better to guard. So you just need to like be on the lookout for that. I will say that the missiles generally you want to like roll out of the way for. The laser beams, so there's like one where he shoots like 7 lasers into the ground. I find it's easiest to just iframe them with some evade window. Um, if you try to guard those, they do like 80% of your health, so there's no point trying to guard them. And then with the big like hyper beam attack for that one, you want to be like just, I mean, I guess like dodging to the side or like Superman diving. You can try to like guard it. You will lose a lot of health when you do it, but the thing is that's a big attack with a lot of end lag, so you can just heal and it's completely fine. Um, but yeah, like that's sort of heavy bowgun, light bowgun. You're going to be rolling away or iframing pretty much everything, and bow, you're going to try and discerning dodge to get out of the way, a lot like how light bowgun's going to play. I don't have the best knowledge on other weapons and as to whether or not they're going to be, first of all, consistent with hitting the head, and second of all, being able to, stay alive whilst maintaining all of that aggro. But I'm not saying you have to play these weapons, but they're probably the best ones at, actually getting the aggro off your teammates and making him predictable. Now that's the first role. Alpha, would you like to run me through, and all of the viewers, run them all through your role, and I mean, probably the most
I would
important
like
role?
to input my thoughts on the aggro role for a bit.
Yep, go ahead.
You don't necessarily have to run both range weapons. You need a weapon that can do multiple hits really fast, say longsword, dual blade, sword and shield, hunting horn.
Hmm.
You need It's not dependent on your DPS. It's dependent on how many times you can land hits on the head.
Right.
As long as you can keep that up, you draw aggro to yourself. It is not damage dependent. From
Hmm.
what I've seen from other people who've not hit the head, it just seems that aggro just seems to grab whoever was doing the highest damage, and that's just back to normal Monster Hunter mechanics. But if you really want your team to be safe, this is a role that is very important. It's a core role, and this is one of the best ways of keeping your entire team alive while sacrificing yourself for the betterment of the team.
Hmm. And I mean, we say
No,
sacrifice for the team, but is it really a sacrifice if it's also easier for the person, right? Like, I would rather have aggro than nobody have aggro and he just does random attacks everywhere.
yes,
All right, what was the
it's
next thing,
much.
mate?
So the next thing that we have to cover is it's important to have a healer here. I know that healer around a lot of communities uh, for like wide range builds are not generally liked. But there are communities where wide range build is good. Range is what we're supposed to run for hunting horn. Wide range build in Omega is a must because one, yes, we have all this DPS, but what happens when you have all this DPS and you are avoiding AoEs, you're avoiding lasers, you're getting knocked around, you are in bad position, you just lose damage. So what's the point of having all this damage when you can't survive? And that's the job of the healer. Your job, make sure your team is alive, make sure they're all topped off, make sure they're all at max health, and give them as many buffs as you can. For this role, I will recommend Hunting Horn, especially the G Outfeld Hunting Horn, because it gives attack up large, defense large, sonic barrier, which is a must.
It's
To
too good.
It's way too good. For people who have played Sunbreak, Rise, it's sonic barrier is like a budget intrepid heart. You basically for one attack or raw, you get reduced damage, and it's quite a bit. But with sonic barrier, as long as you play the song, you can keep on reapplying it. You can reapply it as many times you want. You can keep, and this is one of the best ways to keep your team alive. Sure, you can run the Divine Blessing Son that also stacks on top of it, but I find Sonic Barrier to be the most consistent, and you're not always swapping in between Hunting Horns, and trying to manage your healing. It's just down to if you can swap, you can go for it. That's what you're most comfortable with. But don't just because this is meta, you should run it. Do what is comfortable, but the recommended hunting horn you should use is one with Sonic Barrier.
Yeah. One thing about Sonic Barrier, so like Alpha and I have done like well, how many successful Omegas have we done together now? Like since we really got the strategy down pat, I think we've only failed the Savage version once. And what we do is like I'm on the light bow gun, I'm gonna draw aggro, and I'm not perfect. I'm definitely not perfect. The monster's been out for 2 days, not even like 48 hours. I get hit still. Now I try to dodge as much as I can, but I do get hit. And because I have aggro, I know that he's going to turn around and hit me again. He's going to come for me. Whether it's with a laser, whether it's with fire, ice, anything, right? Any missiles, beams, anything. The thing is that after I get hit, the next hit is going to kill me if it didn't one-shot me in the first place. But with Sonic Barrier, I take so much less damage, and we're going to look at some builds a little later in the video, but with Sonic Barrier, I end up taking a lot less damage to the point where I'm often above the threshold for Moxie and Guts, which means technically I can tank another attack before I cart, and that is huge because the thing about Moxie and Guts that makes it a little bit, not so useful in this hunt is that if you're at full health, which you're gonna be at full health, like you're not just gonna take chip damage. There's no chip damage in this fight. It is just a big hit. If you're at full health, you lose like 90% health every time you take damage, and then the next hit kills you. So Moxie and Guts are technically doing nothing, but then because of Sonic Barrier, Moxie and Guts become amazing. They become super useful. And it also means that you save a bit on max potions, because instead of having to use a max potion, you could use, say, a Dust of Life. Now, I know you could use a Mega Potion there, but you really need to be as fast as possible with your healing, because Savage Omega attacks so fast that, Mega Potion gives you a bit of a heal instantly, and then after that, it's like a slow, like, regeneration of your health. Whereas Dust of Life, it happens instantly, and Dust of Life is going to affect your whole team, just in case a few people got hit by that one attack. So, absolutely huge there. But one of the best things is that I often have aggro and alpha is the support. I'm going to get hit, and instead of trying to, sheath my weapon and then slow down drinking a potion, I have alpha heal me. And that has saved me literally in the last 2 days. It has probably saved my life more than 100 times. It has saved so many quest fails. It has been absolutely huge. And it actually allows me to get back to doing damage to the monster. Because if I don't do damage to the monster, I lose aggro, and we're going to have mustard bombs, and we're going to get multiple carts and quest fail. So, very, very important, the healer role. Before we move on to some other important roles, I just want to mention right now that like the wide range builds are not something that we typically recommend for the game, because Monster Hunter is all about, maintaining a lot of DPS, and keeping the monster on the floor stops the monster from attacking your teammates. But like, let's be real here, you're not keeping Omega on the floor. It's not happening, right? Like, even like a bunch of speedrunners, the strongest group we can get, 4 bowguns or something like that, he's still going to move. He's still going to do heaps of attacks. You're not going to flinch him. He actually works mechanically very different to other monsters. He's very wound resistant, so you're not just going to be able to CC it constantly with wounds. So actually having a healer here is really important. And the thing is that whilst he has a lot of health, he doesn't have so much health that we're going to run out of time. We've never come close to running out of time because we've all had enough DPS. We're always, if we fail, it's because of having too many carts. So in this case, specifically for a Savage Omega hunt, and of course this applies to regular Omega as well, having a support hunting horn build is very good. You can have it as another weapon, like Sword and Shield, because Sword and Shield doesn't have to sheath to be able to, Dust of Life everyone, or Wide Range Mega Potion everyone. But Hunting Horn has that Sonic Barrier, and Sonic Barrier has been an absolute game changer. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about the Hunting Horn / SNS support role before we...
I would recommend...
Yep.
For the kind of support, this support role, you really do need Hunting Horn, because for the Necilia, damage check. There are gonna be endemic life that's gonna do poison, power, and stench to you.
Mm-hmm.
With Hunting Horn, you can get Hunting Horn that is gonna remove a Echo Bubble that's gonna give people ailment negation. That basically makes it where they won't be affected by these statuses, so they can just free on whack away at Nocilia without having an issue, while Nocilia is getting stun locked there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And this
those
is
little
something that
monsters are so annoying. Yeah, go on.
Sword and Shield doesn't have.
Yep.
So, but if you think you're you feel better playing Sword and Shield, then go for it.
Yeah, the thing is,
Go
you're going to
for
have
it,
people who are
whatever.
good at Sword and Shield. They're not good at Hunting Horn, so like they're
Yeah.
going to prefer the Sword and Shield. But if you can find a Hunting Horn main or someone like Alpha who plays every weapon, then get them on Hunting Horn, and those Echo Bubbles are the support of the Echo Bubble is just as important as the support of healing. You really need to use all aspects of the Horn. It's not just a matter of, oh, I'm going to heal my teammates and that's it. No, the support role is super, super active. And look, Alpha, before we move on to the other roles, you
Yes.
put out a list for me earlier. I want you to like read out that list, or if you have it memorized in your head. What are all of the things that you do in a hunt to make my life easier? And I say my life because I'm looking at this from the perspective of the
So
person who has aggro the whole time. So what do you do for me,
besides
mate?
besides the usual supporting stuff, drinking mega potions, because max potions do not work with right range. Yes, max potions in this game do not work with right range. Uh, Dust of Life, I can give you every Might Seed, Demon Powder, and Mega Demon Jug. I can give you Adamant Seed, Heart Shell Powder, Mega Armor Skin. I can also give Dash Juice. I can give you Sleep Energy Drink to get rid of your sleep if you ever get affected by Nurse sleep. On top of that, Echo Bubbles can actually hit the Rocket Punch. For whatever reason, even though it's on the ground, it has the hitbox to hit the Rocket Punch.
Mm-hmm.
Rocket Punch is relatively quite easy to get rid of. You can take it out with Slinger. I've seen Rock Burst take it out. If you can line all three in one go, one Rock Burst will take all three out. I've seen Kinsec do it. I've seen you can use bow guns and use normal ammo, PS ammo, whatever ammo to take it out. You can try with bow. I'm pretty sure bow can do it. Probably gunlance if gunlance Wyvern fire is in range. And there are sling ammo on the map. There is, like for example, in the first area, the slinger ammo on the map is in the body of Jin. You just have to go over there and find it. It is a rock burst. It gives you 5 slinger ammo to work with, and on every part of the fight, there is going to be slinger ammo available. Please make use of it because it's there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't there for a reason, then it wouldn't be part of the game. It won't be part of the mechanics.
Yeah. Anything else that you do for us? Because I know there's one that you do
Oh,
for me.
and there's also one more I do. The little spiders that spawn. If you can play your notes or perform,
Mm-hmm.
do performance, you can hit those spiders as soon as they spawn. So the minute they spawn, Echo Bubble can hit them all.
Yeah. And there's one
Some
more thing.
do escape, but it can remove everything.
There's also one more thing you do for us.
I don't remember from the top of my head.
It's the cold drinks, because like I want to get in there and do damage, and sometimes like we can all pre-buff and whatever, but you can also just do all the buffing for us at the start of the hunt while we're traveling to Omega, and you taking a cold drink means that we don't have to run
Yep.
adaptability. Oh, a hot drink, sorry. Means we don't need
Yes,
adaptability
we're
on our
taking
build, so...
we are taking a cold drink to a cold area. I'm pretty sure we are gonna be just fine.
Mate, the cold drinks because we've been sweating so much. All right, so
You're
the
sweating. I'm not. It's healing. Being a healer is chill, and you get to listen to lo-fi while you're doing the hardest monster ever.
well, I'm glad it's like that for you. He's kind of on my back the whole time, but I'd rather him be on my back the whole time than him be putting mustard bombs all over the map. All right, so look, next up we want to get into the more simpler roles. So you really are going to need two people who have been there and done it before. And that's what me and Alpha have been doing, and we've been doing it with a bunch of different people, and it's been quite successful for us. But the other two people in the hunt, and I do recommend finding a group of four because as soon as you go two-player scaling, then the health becomes the same as four-player scaling. And look, I haven't even attempted this thing solo because it just sounds like a nightmare. I know people have done it. There are runs on YouTube where people have soloed Savage Omega, but like these are like some of your top players, and you see how long it's taking them, and it's like they can't make a mistake in that, or otherwise like they're dead. There's no room for error. To maximize room for error, that's what our strategy is all about today. So those last two players, there's two things that they need to do. One, DPS, and two, deal with wounds. DPS is very simple. We need this monster to die at some point, and the healer is not going to be doing a lot of damage. And the person who's getting aggro, whilst they're going to be trying to do damage, there are plenty of attack patterns this guy has where I'm just like, look guys, I can't damage it at this point. I'm just going to sheath my weapon and I'm just going to run around for a bit. Because some of his attacks are just so hard to dodge, and if I try to greed shots, and I do greed shots, I do it plenty, but especially someone who's like new to this role, it's like once you have aggro, only attack when you're like super confident on your attacks, because like there are some attacks of his that have a bit of end lag. It's not a lot. It's stuff like the hyper beam, and often you're going to have to be dodging multiple attacks at once. So with those attacks coming at you, they're not coming at your teammates, and those teammates need a focused DPS. The best hit zones for you guys are going to be the front legs or the back legs. If you're a ranged player, it's the front legs. If you're a melee player, it's the back legs. Go for it, glue yourself to those legs, and do a heap of damage. If you get hit, remember that you're going to have someone who helps heal you. If they're doing their job properly, you won't need to worry about healing. You just need to worry about DPS. And there's one other thing that you need to concern yourself with, and that's wounds. The person who has aggro, they're going to be dodging attacks left, right, and center. They're going to be in this rhythm. They're not going to be able to interrupt their rhythm much to do a focus strike. They can. You may see me do it here in the background footage from time to time. But for the most part, I would rather someone else do it. Popping wounds is really good. And as someone who is there taking all of the aggro from people, having someone like, I know in the background footage here, you see Ravis playing bow. Bow is the best weapon at sniping wounds since those arrows are tracking arrows. And whenever he snipes those wounds, it interrupts his attack pattern, which allows the person who has all of the aggro to get those extra headshots in so that they maintain aggro. So popping wounds is really important. It interrupts his attack patterns, it allows people to do DPS, and eventually, like, and I don't know the exact mechanics behind Omega at the moment, but aren't there like some topples or something that you get after a certain number of wound breaks, Alpha? How does it exactly work?
So we've not come to figure out how many wounds. This is stuff that requires more vigorous testing, and we need more people into looking into this stuff. We need more testers and more people willing to run Omega for just testing stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's just day 2, but this is stuff. As soon as we can get this kind of information, more people can get through easier, have a much easier time with it.
Yep.
And this is something I hope for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we're doing this, what we're doing right now for you guys.
Yeah. Look, we will figure out what the exact mechanics are as we keep going, but what we do know is that popping wounds, good. Like, it's as simple as that. And the best weapon at hunting down those wounds is the bow. There are a bunch of other weapons that can do a pretty good job. And one of the things as well is, like, once you connect with the wound, you will hold the monster still for a little bit, which gives people that bit of breathing room. You know, it lets you have a potion. It lets you do some damage, maintain aggro if you're, me. Or, like, it allows everyone to breathe. And, that's like the best advice against Omega is, like, just breathe, don't try not to stress too much, because at the end of the day, the armor's not great. The armor's actually, like, genuinely pretty bad. It has good slots. Like, it's got, like, good, like, skills and slots on the armor. But the set bonus is terrible, and we already have efficient armor, like Zoshia and Lagiacrus, which actually have better set bonuses. I don't rate Zoshia's set bonus, but it's still better than what Omega has. So yeah, those last two players, do damage, break wounds. Now what we're going to do is we're going to quickly just run through what a hunt would look like for us. So, me, Alpha, Ravis, and Huntress, in this background footage here. So, it's pretty much start the quest. The hunting horn person is just going to do like all the buffs that they can, the item between the item buffs and the songs, especially getting up Sonic Barrier nice and early. Mostly for me because I'm going to get hit. And obviously, you're seeing everything in my perspective, so I'm going to be getting in there as soon as I can, because I'm a light bowgun, engaging rapid fire mode and just going for the head because I want aggro as soon as possible. I don't want mustard bombs. I don't want there to be millions of missiles thrown around everywhere. I just want the damage to be focused on me so that the rest of my teammates can do what they can. So that's basically phase one. It's quite simple, and there's nothing too special about it. Phase two is almost identical to phase one, but the difference here is that he's going to start outside the cave. He's going to do one, like he pretty much, it's almost scripted, I swear, how he starts phase two Alpha. He starts off with a mustard bomb. So, sort of try and take that to the corner, somewhere that people don't want to really be. Then he's going to unleash a couple missiles, dodge those missiles, and then after that he goes for a hyper beam. After that hyper beam, I like to and I'm gonna have aggro at this point, right? I'm going to then pull Omega into the cave, and in the cave there's a bunch of boulders. I'm not going to stress myself about actually, hitting those boulders. I'm gonna leave that up to the other three hunters because again, I'm trying to just dodge the attacks left, right, and center. But the other hunters can definitely look at those things. Then after that, he's going to transition off to phase four after you've done a good amount of damage. Now, here I'm going to go back to camp because I need to swap my build. As plenty of people know, there's a Nacilla that spawns. It's one of those crazy Nacillas, not the Nacillas that we've been used to for the last, 6 months. And it's weak to fire, but Omega is still weak to thunder. So for my elemental bowgun, I'm going to, instead of going double thunder guns, I'm going to go with the first gun's going to be a thunder gun and the second gun's going to be a fire gun because when Nacilla spawns, I want to do fire damage to it. One thing I do as well, though, is I also make my thunder gun a paralysis thunder gun, and that's so that I can paralyze the Nacilla when it spawns, then weapon swap into my fire gun and then do some damage. Alpha, there's some stuff that you do as a horn main here. Not horn main, but as someone who's playing hunting horn, what do you then do during this time in phase 3?
So during this time, what I like to do is I put down a bubble for element negation, and just cue my songs and get as much DPS as I can. Sure, I don't have that much DPS, but it's as much as I can contribute to the team.
Mm-hmm.
Because the endemic life here, sure, you got the characters that will just shoot spikes everywhere, does about 100 damage each time. But then there's the other one. I don't exactly remember the name of it, but it does para, poison, and stench. And if
yeah.
you have the element negation, you can trigger this around near your teammates, and as long as your teammates are within the bubble, you basically prevent them from having it. And Nacilla will just struggle being constantly paralyzed after the bowgun paralyzed. It gets paralyzed again by this more endemic life.
Yeah, I remember that being super important, and we've already mentioned this, but Hunting Horn can deal with all of those small, those little monsters, and a whole heap of those little spiders come everywhere at you. And when I'm trying to do damage, I really just want those spiders to die. If I just stand in an echo bubble, awesome, because I know that he's going to make that bubble, echo, I guess. I don't know the Hunting Horn terminology, but, he's going to kill those little spiders in the vicinity, and I'm going to be safe to do damage. You want to be killing Nacilla as fast as possible. It dies. I go back into my thunder/paralysis gun, and then, we go into the bubble. Now, right after he does the ultimate attack, he always stands in the same spot, doesn't he, Alpha?
Yes.
right? And
Roughly,
yeah, go on.
usually he spawns around the same spot.
Hmm.
It's quite hard to memorize where exactly he spawned, but if you've done it enough times, you can roughly gauge. And then if you miss your echo bubble, you can just move it slightly
Hmm.
over because
Now,
He's gonna be powered either way.
yep. Now regarding Omega, right after he goes for the ultimate attack, what do you do? Because you're the one who does it.
So do you with this happens with Zoshia as well when he does his first Nova. You can actually drop a rock on him. It's the same thing we're doing here in Omega. We're using the Ice Roar it's usually to the left of Omega. We can just drop it and it does about 3,000 damage to it
Yeah.
and does knock it down for a longer period of time, gives more time for people to go run over and do damage more.
Yeah, and like pretty much after the Nova, and then after after you like to drop the boulder on it, we do a whole burst of damage, and then he phase transitions really shortly after that. As a light bowgun player, I am going to go back to camp so that I can get double thunder guns again. I guess a thunder and a paragon would be good because getting a para off in phase 4 is always really, really useful. I haven't been doing that. I probably should be doing that. Um, but yeah, and I guess that does mean a third loadout for me because for the first two phases, double thunder. For phase 3, it's going to be fire and thunder. And then for phase 4, para and thunder would be ideal. This is also like a great time for your support person and anyone else to restock their items, refresh your buffs, things like that. So now we're going to be going into phase 4 of Omega, and really there's not too much scripting that you can do here. But one thing that's very important to note is that, and I don't know exactly how the mechanics work. I hope you might know Alpha, but there's something where you can use it to create a shield. I don't know if it's some slinger or what it is, but there's a
So
shield you
if
can
you break
make.
off, if you manage to break off a part of the leg,
Hmm.
you can basically grab a, this portable shield that you can shoot down and people can stand in it.
Yep.
That's one thing. The other way of creating a shield is sometimes doing certain attacks. We're still trying to figure out which attacks are them. I
Hmm.
know it's the mass. One of them is the massive beam,
Hyper
but
beam. Yeah.
whenever that happens, there's a little wound that appears. When you attack that wound, it will create a shield.
Hmm.
Also, if you mount the monster and you
Yes.
finish the mount, it also gets a shield.
Yes, that is super huge for phase 4 because what I think it's the in the background footage. I think it's the first hunt because I'm gonna put the background footage on top of this audio, or put the audio on top of the background footage. The shield is really important in phase 4 because he has this attack. He'll do it in phase 4, and I think he only ever does it once in a hunt. And what he does is he launches missiles. He'll launch one missile at every single person in, like, who is there. So 4 missiles at once he's shooting. And he will shoot, like, he'll do this 6 times in a row. So he'll just go missile, missile, missile. Like, he keeps shooting them at you, and you really can't do any damage during this time. Like, it's really difficult, and in multiplayer, obviously multiplayer is recommended because of, the it's just easier, like HP scaling wise and splitting the aggro. But for this specific attack, it's so hard to deal with it in multiplayer because everyone's running around like crazy, and the more people run around, the more these missiles get scattered in a pattern because it's 4 missiles. One for where each player is. So if people cross over each other, they could run into the AoE of the missile that was hitting the other person. So, you got to be careful for that attack. That is probably his like deadliest attack because that one can just instantly quest fail you. And in fact, it has quest failed us in the past. So if you get a shield, everyone just gets to ignore it, and it's the biggest opening because it takes him a long time to unleash those 6 missiles. And then once that attack's over, it's back to like phase 2. You just keep on doing damage to him. You might get some leg part breaks, which lead to a down, and you keep on going for it. Before we start finishing off here with a couple builds, Alpha, was there anything else you wanted to say, just throughout the
I
whole hunt for
I would
phases
like
1 to 4?
I would like to talk about the rockets part.
Yep.
When he rains rockets at you, one thing you can do is, if you can, and if only if you can, because I know how finicky sacred can be at times. You can jump onto the sacred and avoid the rockets because it's much faster than running. And then you just make sure you run in the circle, try and be as far away from your team as possible, because you don't want the rockets to be too close to your teammates. Then they are also panicking like you are.
Yeah.
We're not
Exactly.
expecting you guys to be perfect. We're not. Neither are us.
You're
We
not going to
are
be
perfect
perfect.
either.
Man, they're watching the
We are.
background footage. They're going to see how imperfect I am and how many times I get hit in this fight.
Yes.
But it's all about, we know we're not perfect. We're all human, right? So what can we do to make the hunt um, as easy as possible for people who are imperfect? And that's the whole point of this video. That's why people are going to see the length of the video. It's because we're going really in depth about it. So yeah, as Alpha said, you can get on your sacred. So
But
look.
mounting. Sorry.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
do want to
mounting.
add on as well.
Yes.
Mounting is, if you can, please just make sure to mount it on the final phase,
Yes.
because it's in an enraged state and you need wounds. Mounting creates 2 wounds, and ideally, when you end the mount, you want to use the mount that's on the rear, because not a lot of weapons can reach a wound that is on the very top of the monster.
Hmm.
Maybe bowgun, heavy bowgun can reach it, insect glaive can reach it, bow can reach it. But you're not gonna have, say, people always running these weapons. But if you do have a bow player, just go with whatever wound you can, or if you got if and that basically gives you more wounds to work with,
Hmm.
and less require wounds to end the enraged state.
Yeah. And look, at the end of the day, the wounds they lead to more CC, and CC, or crowd control, or just keeping it still
Yes.
in final phase is so important because, yeah, like he'll do that charge. He'll do the charge 3 times in final phase, and that charge attack it's a pretty. It's not the biggest hitbox that we've seen, but it's still a pretty big hitbox. It's difficult timing. I'll mess it up sometimes. I'll get it right other times. But that can, if that hits 3 people, that could quest fail you, right? Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's definitely important to get that mount in final phase. Really do try your best to save it for final phase. I know it's going to be difficult for insect glaive players to do that, but just do your best. At the end of the day, that's all anyone can ask for. So look, guys, we'll finish this video off just by talking about some builds that are very tailored towards this guy. I'm going to just quickly show here on screen the light bowgun build that I've been taking. Now, obviously, my version of this is not with a craftable charm, but I'm going to show the craftable charm on screen. Basically, your RNG charm version of this, right, would just be if you can get a point of tetrad shot or some other like weapon skill that might be beneficial, and then just be able to fit the same skill. So in this case, you see I'm using an evade window 4 charm. You want to be having the same skill efficiency. This is very similar to like just a typical elemental build. Instead of being laggy plus Gore Magala, it's going to be so still that's that 2-piece Gore Magala, but then 3 pieces of guts. Guts is almost a requirement for this fight. It stops you from getting one shot from full health, which is really important for Hyper Beam and even some other attacks. And you know, I said earlier in the video that you wouldn't take chip damage, but now I've got to remember Corrupted Mantle and those little monsters can chip you. And if it puts you down to 90% health, then, plenty of attacks might one-shot you at that point. So, Guts and Moxie are super important. I would recommend definitely eating for Moxie and definitely having 3 pieces of three pieces of AT armor on your build. And I'm going to recommend these specific 3 pieces of Arc Tempered Armor because the legs are super good with Quick Sheath because the faster you can sheath and heal, the less likely you are to die while you're trying to heal yourself. The AT Radar arms are so good because Evade Extender, I mean, there's AoEs everywhere, so having that Evade Extender to allow you to get out of those AoEs is super important. And then the last one, least important of the 3 pieces, but you need a third piece to get Guts active. And it's the AT Ray Chest because getting hit by any single attack from this guy is going to activate latent power. So it's just a free 30% affinity. And, in this kind, I'm sure there's plenty of weapons that, on their meta sets, they're going to use Max Might, and Max Might is a great source of affinity and, all those things. But in this case, Max Might, you're going to be rolling so much, especially if you're me, right? I'm rolling like constantly. So latent power is not that. Sorry, Max Might's not that great, but latent power ends up getting higher uptime, and it's very easy to put on the build, and it completes your gut set bonus. From there, it's two-piece gore because it's free affinity, and it also procs coalescence, which is like the strongest skill on elemental guns. I did have a quick peep at Ravis's build before I, stopped with these hunts, and I saw that he was also using a very similar setup with Gore Guts for bow. I'm not sure if Gore Guts is going to be optimal on every weapon, but what I can tell you is that Guts itself is going to be really important, and then from there, it's whatever's best for your weapon. I do believe that some weapons, like Switch Axe, may benefit a lot because they hyper armor through attacks, so they can benefit from the passive healing of Zoshia, the two-piece set bonus there. Look, I don't want people to be relying on that set bonus to heal them, but for weapons that do hyper armor, maybe some weapons with shields, it could be really useful for you guys. So something to consider, but it's not something that I've tested myself, even on heavy bowgun. I prefer to just dodge everything on light bowgun rather than try and take them on heavy bowgun. But a very special build we need to talk about now is alphas. Do you want to run us through your horn build, mate?
So on my horn build, I'm running. We have wide range 5, recovery up 3, evic extended 3, quick sheath 3, speed eating 3, item prolonger 3, and female 3. These are the core skills you need on your support build. Bind resist 3 is there. So there is one move in particular he does, but this only happens in the savage form where he does the Jin, the hard ice, kind of ice breath against the ground. So bind resist basically prevents you from being stuck to the ground. You can also clear it with cleanser, but bind resist just basically makes it much easier for you, more quality of life for you to just run around.
Oh, definitely.
And
The
you
number of
can
times
heal.
people get
And
frozen, yeah.
in this, for this build, I don't really have a friendship. I don't have the comfortable friendship charm. But as long as you can get wide range 4 on the build, and you get at least 2 slots. It can be a 1-1, it can be a 2-1, it can be a 3-1, whatever it may be the case. As long as you have 2 juice slots, it is good for the build.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have that and you want to just use the wide range 5 charm, you can drop the bind, like 1 point of the bind resistance. Two of them are going to be locked onto that waist piece. But yeah, if you have to drop it, you have to drop it. But again, title update 2 was out for a long time, or 2.5, I guess, and it had those RNG charms. So if you ended up getting a wide range 4 charm with 2 level 1 slots, you can also get that bind resistance level 3. Look, bind resistance 2 is going to help you because you're going to be out of the frostbite really quick. But of course, being able to prevent it altogether is definitely a bonus that is very welcome onto builds. So I'm ready to finish it there. Did you have any last closing thoughts, Alpha, regarding Omega?
I think with Omega is a very difficult fight. It is one that is, it's not like, oh, he's gonna go in this line or he's gonna do the sweeping attack. No, this is a lot of AoEs. There are times that like I've died just because I went from laser to AoE to laser to AoE, and then Master Bomb is there and AoE. It is a very stressful fight. So just be just be aware that this fight is not like it's not time gated. You can do it whenever you want. It's You can just give up now and come back at a different time when you feel more ready of doing this. Because this fight is really the hard content that people are asking for, and this is what we get. And this is what we get. Really have no say to it. The most worth it thing from this fight would be the layered.
Yeah.
The armor pieces itself, for gunners, we're not gonna use it very much. At most, we're gonna use it for slots, but the set bonus itself is not something worth for us
It's
because
terrible.
it's one of those things that when you spawn in, you either get the raw, you get the attack, or you get the affinity, and it rotates
Yep.
after every 90 seconds,
Hmm.
and you only get an attack when you're within a certain range of, I believe it's when you're close to hunters,
No,
and if you're
opposite.
far,
Opposite, mate.
oh, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
When you only get the attack when you're far away from hunters, but if you're close to someone, they won't get the attack. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Same with the infinity, they need to be close to you for them to get the infinity. It's There's too many conditions here. There is
Yeah.
it sure it can be if you think it's a good skill, but it's way too many conditions for you to proc. You would like It's better to have a skill that you can passively proc it, something very easy. Say like with Lord Soul you get the raw, just have a passive raw, you lose a bit of defense, but that's the cost of having guts.
Yeah.
With Gore 4Ps, you get out you get frenzy, very easy to clear. You just do damage and then call it day.
Yeah.
You do want to note with I just want to bring it up to people. I know it may look strong. I know it may be look broken, but do keep in mind of these conditions, and you have to consider for yourself whether it's really worth it to put so much effort trying to practice when there are other set bonuses, which is passive and a lot easier. End of the day, it's really up to you. Sure, it can be the meta, but
It's not though.
if sure it can be the meta to if to it's definitely not.
Yeah,
To us,
we know
it's
it's not.
definitely not. We know it's not.
Like,
But
even if this was to be something that people tried to push as meta, it would kind of be like an alternate build to be like, all right, you can use this if you want to, but if you don't want to, here's your consistent build. I think Greatsword's the one that's gonna gain the most. I think it's like the three that actually got weapons: Greatsword, Sword and Shield, and Insect Glaive. They might see
yep,
some usage, but for everyone else, no one's gonna even touch it. Like the most it is some layered armor. And look,
yep,
for me, it's a fun challenge. It's a way to bring the community together. I mean, I have had an alpha feature in videos in the background footage, but I've never had him actually on the channel. And, for this one, there was no one better to do it with because he has been pulling off the support role so perfectly, saving me, dozens of times per hunt. So, yeah, look, we're going to finish it there. I want to thank everyone so much for listening. And Alpha, I want to thank you for coming onto the video. Peace out, guys. Have a good one, and good luck with Omega.